Welcome back. I'm Ryan from Blue Gaming, and this is a video that I did not think that I was going to be making. When I first heard that there was going to be a beta for Red Dead Online before the actual release, I thought, I'll just wait until the actual release to make a video for it. But then I started playing Red Dead Online, and then I continued to play Red Dead Online, and then I quit playing Red Dead Online. And this has been out for, what, a week? Not even a week. It came out Tuesday. Today is Sunday, or actually Saturday night as I'm recording this. It's not good. And this is going to be one of the less structured videos of mine, because really this is almost a rant, but not to the same degree that my Grand Theft Auto 5 Online video was. See, I had every reason to like Red Dead Online. I was given one of the best horses in the game, one of the best saddles in the game, one of the best pistols in the game. I was given a load of free weapons and an XP boost up to level 25. That's all the stuff that you got for getting the Ultimate Edition. All of that stuff together still does not make up for just how bad this is. See, even though I made a 45-minute long rant on Grand Theft Auto 5 Online, I expected it to be about the same quality, if not better. I was really hoping that it was going to be better when I played the single player for Red Dead, but it's not. Somehow they made it worse. Actually, I think that this might be worse than the online in the original Red Dead. That was very basic in its way of doing things, but somehow, some way, they made it worse. And actually, we're going to be talking about how they made it worse, because just saying that they made it worse and then not giving an actual explanation would be kind of shitty. So let's just go through some of these things. And the first one, you've probably heard about it, it's the gold bars. They have an actual premium currency now. The shark cards were bad enough, because you could buy anything with them for real money. Anything in the game, you could just pay shark cards, get in-game money, and buy anything. Gold bars are even worse, because not only can you buy anything with gold bars, but there are items that you can only get with gold bars. Which is just... it's what we feared. This is the one thing that we feared when shark cards became a thing. This is... all those years ago when we first found out that Red Dead was getting an online that was actually getting some work put into it, this is what we were so worried about, is that the shark cards would end up affecting Red Dead Online. Well, they did. Gold bars are a terrible thing, and if you hated the shark cards in Grand Theft Auto, well, they've only been made worse with this gold bar system. And on top of that, the entire economy of Red Dead Online is messed up. See, if you played the single player, the economy in the single player is good, because sure, some things are expensive, but the things that you would think would be cheap are cheap, and you're never really tight for money. But in the online, the gun prices are put exponentially high for no reason, and then everything else just becomes a lot more expensive when you get paid so little. For the average mission, you will only be paid about $15, but the things that made the single player of Red Dead so quote-unquote immersive are actually a huge hindrance when you bring it into online. You still have to feed your own character. You still have to feed your horse. Those two are the really big things. Ammo is actually the only thing that's really not super expensive. Food is super expensive, which is why that's so bad. Weapons, I already said, are super expensive. They can be several $100s for a cheap one. I've spent about 15-20 hours with Red Dead Online, and I barely have $350, which isn't even enough to buy most guns in the game. I just recently bought a bow, which for some reason cost over $100. which doesn't make any sense. So the entire economy is messed up, and quite honestly, I don't think that they're going to fix it. Like, I know that this is titled beta, but knowing Take-Two Interactive's stance on microtransactions and what Rockstar Games did with did with Grand Theft Auto 5 Online, I don't think that these things are going to be fixed. So that's a really big concern. And then on top of that, personally, the missions are so damn boring. Like, thankfully they did change one thing. In the promotional material for the online section, they said that anybody would be able to come up to you during a mission and try to stop you from doing that mission, and they'd be getting some reward for it. Thankfully, that is not the case. You are actually put into a separate little mission kind of area, and nobody can interact with you during those missions, but all the side missions and everything like that, those are all done in the open world, so anybody can just come and stop you, and it happens a lot, which I'll get into here in a minute, because people are just assholes. And if you thought that it was bad in Grand Theft Auto 5, it is worse here. Like I said, I'll get to that here in a minute, but the missions are unimaginative. They actually have a story back again. This time, the silent protagonist that they kind of made fun of in Grand Theft Auto 5, that doesn't work here. It's just kind of weird. Like, people are way too trusting of you, like, right off the bat. Like, I remember one of the side missions, you were supposed to go find this person's family that had just ran off in a wagon. And in a 30-second conversation, they go from almost shooting you for being on their property to saying, hey, go find my missing family and the wagon that they ran away with. So they try to kind of take the comedy out of it, and it really just doesn't make the silent protagonist work anymore. Speaking of the side missions, about 70% of the time when I start a side mission, pretty much everything fails. Like, not in the way that you would think. Like, essentially, I accept the side mission, I go through the conversation with the NPC, and then I get put out of it, but it never gives me the objective. Like, I'm literally just sitting there with an empty map, as if I had an objective, but no objective is shown, and I am given no actual objective. So the only way to get out of that is by either quitting out of online altogether and going back in, or quick loading into just some other mission, which thankfully they still have quick join, so you don't have to run all over the place. So yeah, there's that. That happens about 70 to 80% of the time that I start up a side mission. So pretty much I stopped doing side missions altogether. Then with the main missions, they were tied together, but for the last like 5 or so hours, there hasn't been a main mission for me. If you've played Red Dead Online, I got to the part where you had to fight at the fort and kill the special guy in the story, or the first special guy in the story, and the story just never progressed past there. So I don't know if that's a bug or if that's intentional, but I've just been leveling up and haven't gotten another story mission, which, I don't know, I could see it being both a bug and it being intentional. If it's intentional, it's kind of shitty that they don't tell you that, hey, we're not putting in the rest of the story yet. Going back to people being idiots and assholes, so griefing went to an all-time new high, because if you got griefed in Grand Theft Auto, they would just blow up your car and shoot you a couple times until you either left the session or ran away. Here, what they'll do, this is extremely shitty, they'll shoot you from some distance, and then they'll shoot your horse. They won't kill your horse, though. No, they'll just shoot it and make it go down to a critical state. Then they'll just leave. So what you come back to is your health cores are down because you just died. Your horse's health cores are abysmally low because they just shot the crap out of it. And then you have to waste money on food, and with the low amount of money that you get from the missions, if this happens to you enough, you can be running really, really low on food. And people just walking up and shooting you is an all-time high, and it sucks. Like, just the act of them shooting you. Like, it doesn't negatively affect you to die in just free roam. Like, your health cores go down a bit, but besides that, like, you're not losing out on much. It's really just a dick move that they're doing. And the worst part about it is you can't just, like, leave the lobby, because the way that they have it set up is to make the world feel more populated. If you go from one area to the next, you'll seamlessly get put from one lobby to another, so there's always people around you. The problem is there's a high enough number of dicks out in the world that most of the time I'm having to just run around in a posse of 3 to 4 people just that random guys don't come up and try to shoot me. And even with a posse of 3 to 4 people, random guys still try to come up and just shoot me. So it only works sometimes. So just to recap Red Dead Online, the side missions don't even work 70 to 80% of the time. The main missions are boring. Most of the people that you run into are assholes. So you would think, hey, maybe the side activities, maybe those are good. Well, racing isn't nearly as good when it's done with horses. There's Team Deathmatch, but that's really just the same as Grand Theft Auto, and I hated it there too. Oh, hey, maybe let's go play some poker with some friends. Nope, that's not in multiplayer, so you can't go do that. So what really are you left with? Well, you can replay the same old boring story missions to get more money. You can go hunting. So if you like hunting, there's that. You can actually get a bow at a somewhat reasonable level. You have to be like level 10 to get a bow. You can't fish for a while. You have to be a higher level to fish. But that's pretty much all that there is to do that isn't either bad, doesn't work, or boring. And even if when you're out hunting and fishing, some random dude's probably going to come up to you and try to kill you. So, overall, in its current state, to wrap up this video, Red Dead Online is quite bad, quite garbage. You can go watch some other videos that go into more detail about how the economy is just so terrible in the game, because really that is one of the biggest things about this. There's no way for them to change how players act to each other. Like, they could add in sort of passive mode, but this is not looking too good for Rockstar. And just as like a personal thing, right after I beat the single player of Red Dead Redemption 2, I was talking to a friend about what we would have as like the top 10 games of the year, my personal top 10 games of the year, and I told him right after I finished the Red Dead single player, that Red Dead Redemption 2 and one other game were tied for first place of game of the year. And I told him it would all rely on Red Dead Online. If Red Dead Online was good, or at least as good as Grand Theft Auto 5 Online, then it would probably take first place. Red Dead Online is so bad that it might not even get second place anymore. Like, this is really, really bad. And I don't want to ramble on for like 40 minutes. So, I think I'm going to end the video off here. I'll probably have another video when the full version of Red Dead Online comes out. Just so that we can kind of have like a comparison of what they changed and if they made it any better. I doubt that they will, but we can only hope.